Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I have a special breakdown covering every single one of our Bitcoin indexes because now is the most important support for Bitcoin to hold if we're going to see a reversal and us to go in continuation, or if we lose the support, what it actually means for the next couple months of crypto. Ever since the ETF got approved, we've seen a lot of volatility inside of the markets, and I wanted to make sure that you guys understood the most important charts in crypto, what they're telling us, and how we can be best positioned to capitalize on any of the volatility inside of the market ahead. Now is the most important time to be prepared, to be ready, and so today we're going to break it down and make sure that you guys know exactly what to be expecting moving forward from here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, looking at the price of Bitcoin, and as you guys can see, ever since the ETF was approved, we've had a pretty nasty sell-off. However, the most important thing that we can remember in the shorter time frames is when we're looking at Bitcoin down in here, this looks like the potential of a bounce could actually end up playing out. And at the end of the day, all we're really doing is we're still inside of the same range. We actually haven't broke down. So we've seen a lot of people that were pretty skeptical, a lot of people that were pretty bearish in the short term. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, we're ultimately retesting this range low support. We had such a nasty sell-off ever since that ETF approval. So I think a lot of people are expecting that we're going to break down from this level. The only thing is we've retested this a few different times, and every time we've hit this, we've ended up bouncing. Now, we've been inside of the same consolidation the entirety of this, the last couple months, really. This was our range high as resistance. We had a couple false breakouts being right here, and then also right here before the ETF, and then post ETF approval. So what we saw here is us more or less maintaining that exact same range. Nothing has really changed. So as long as we hold this support, we have to assume that this could easily bounce at least back up to this mid-range, being, maybe this prior high that we just experienced over here at about 43,288. But if we were to see any sort of sustained move, maybe we get a sort of breakout above that level. Don't be surprised if we ran all the way back up and retested those range highs. It would probably look something more along the lines of this. Before, I would expect something like this to play out if that was going to be the case. So we have a couple scenarios to watch for. As long as this support holds, we're going to expect to see kind of more along the same of what this prior range was experiencing, before we ended up having that ETF. Because I don't think anything has really changed. If we did get a breakdown, maybe we bounce in the short term, but then we come back. If we ever close below this range and this starts to act as resistance, we could be in for a decent type of a pullback all the way back down to this sort of liquidity zone. We maintained this ascending support for about a month inside of October. And then once we ended up breaking out from that, that was pretty much what entered this range. So if we lose this range, I'm expecting us to revisit back inside of this same sort of consolidation, probably mid 35,000, somewhere right around there. But in the short term, we're still holding support. Not anything has really changed there. And as long as we continue to hold support, I'm expecting a bounce. However, a breakdown below, something significant, we start acting as real resistance. Don't be surprised if this thing ends up having a decent sized pullback if we did break down from this, considering this has been a long-term range that we've been in, coming from all the way over to here to where we're at. That's almost 2 months, 50 days approximately that we've been consolidating here. So I think regardless, a big move is coming. Us to be inside of this consolidation for 60 days, I do believe that we're coming close to the point of confirmation, whether that's going to be a bounce again for us to go back to the upside, or whether that's a confirmed breakdown from this range. We're just going to have to watch and see, but that's what I see happening. Now, if we come over here and look at the total market cap, we were looking at a couple different sort of trend lines here. We could draw it a couple different ways. If you're looking at this one, this was kind of the one I was watching for, where we had been holding this ascending support pretty much the entirety of the move, and this is the total market cap, keep in mind. But, we actually have broken down from that. So as far as this trend line goes, it does look like we're going to be breaking down. Unless Bitcoin makes a massive bounce right here, the market starts reversing off this level, then I do believe that the total market cap is going to end up reversing as well. So with us breaking down from this, we still have 6.5 hours until this candle closes. So if Bitcoin were to get a bunch of buyers stepping in and we get a big, bullish engulfing candle of some kind, this could end up rebounding to some extent, but it doesn't really looking that good. We did have a pretty decent amount of bearish divergence that formed here on the OBV, where we had, all of these three higher highs right here pushing up. However, we were never able to make a higher high in the OBV, and the RSI has already had bearish divergence for a long time, and that's why I say that it's better to pair that with the OBV, considering we've had bearish divergence since all the way back over in this period. So you would have missed out on that entire move had you have just been trying to trade these two swings right here. But you still would have captured the majority of the move, and that's still why it's valuable to watch on both of them. But when we got confirmation on the OBV right over here where we made this final peak up and we were still, just below that prior high, that was really where we started to see a lot more weakness entering the market. So when we're looking at this, if we were to see a sustained pullback, what I'm first watching for would pretty much be, kind of in this sort of area. I think that consolidation at about 1.4 billion market cap, or trillion, I should say, that's kind of the area I would be watching for. When we had that summer correction inside of our bull market, this level was like the breakdown of Terra Luna and everything collapsed. That was when we retested that. So we're pretty much going to be coming back down if we end up sort of capitulating off of this level. I think we'd revisit this sort of liquidity zone, being the prior consolidation that we had before this recent breakout, but then also the high of the move right as we were having the Terra Luna collapse and all of that stuff happening. So I think that's more or less what would end up playing out if we're going to continue to see a breakdown from this level. It is possible we could see a low all the way back down to retest this prior high and this high, but I don't think that's likely. I find it much more likely that the market is going to find support up here a little bit higher. I think most people will be looking for the buy opportunity of retesting these highs, but I think that they're just going to end up getting left behind as it bounces somewhere in this sort of range. We might consolidate for a little while, but more or less, we're going to expect some type of correction before we make another new high as we continue on in this uptrend. So with the total market cap, we've seen exhaustion. We are breaking down from the trend line. That was kind of the confirmation I was waiting for. Were we going to break down from it? Were we going to hold it? Well, now we're seeing things kind of breaking down. So unless Bitcoin just has a ton of buyers stepping in right here, it's not really looking that good. Now, if we come over here and look at the altcoin total market cap, just excluding Bitcoin, we're pretty much seeing the same thing, maybe just more confirmation here. The only issue with the altcoins is the RSI has had bearish divergence for every single one of these moves all the way up. So that's why I say, once again, pair it with the OBV to get confirmation, because this is where we saw the peak high happened right here on the OBV, and then it made this lower high coming into this move and even this move right here, the first lower high of our downtrend. So having that confirmation, now that we're breaking this support zone, we already had two really close attempts at a breakdown right over here just recently. However, we held support of that. Now that we're seeing another one of these, I think that this is exhaustion. We're most likely going to end up coming back down. Our first support's going to be about 700 billion to about 673 billion. It's going to be the prior high that we saw in August of our bear market. I do think that the altcoin total market cap would be coming back down to that prior high to retest that. From where we're at right now, price-wise, we're looking at about another 10%. So nothing too crazy, but it would be a decent drop. And from there, we're going to bounce. We're going to figure out whether this is going to be support. I wouldn't be surprised to see one more sort of capitulation a little bit lower. That would be the most bearish scenario for the altcoins. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I would like to see the altcoins actually hold this prior high over in August. That would be the most bullish scenario, even if we consolidated here for a little while before starting to go back up. Overall, this is all I'm expecting inside of the market. We just had our first breakout to begin this new trend. We had been inside of this bear market consolidation for a long period of time, right? 530 days approximately. Us breaking out of it, all we're really doing is pretty much the same setup that Ethereum did in the last cycle. Like if we come over here and look at Ethereum from the last cycle, if we remember, we spent all of this time inside of this double bottom formation. And as we were spending all of this time in this consolidation, it was once we flipped this range high over here, ETH rallied all the way up to almost $500. And then we rejected, broke down, made a lower low from that. But then all we were doing was retesting that prior range high. Even though it came a little bit back below, during a couple bear traps, it technically peaked below that level. But once again, I think that we would pretty much be looking at the exact same setup. There really isn't much difference. When we're comparing the time of how long the Ethereum bottom was, you're looking at about 600 days, just under 600 days before we got that breakout. So, I mean, we're doing it a little bit quicker than that, but not much. From the peak low to where we're at right now, it's almost the same amount of time, 534 days. It's only a couple months shorter. It's really not that much of a difference. So I once again continue to preach the message that even if we see a pullback, don't get, freaked out by that. It's just going to be an opportunity to get in at a better price. Even if you bought stuff at a higher price, as long as you're not over leveraged in leveraged positions, it's going to end up getting bought back up and it's going to end up having a new cycle. That's the thing that concerns so many people, is the short-term price, when I love to just zoom out of these charts and remember what the heck Ethereum did after that. We don't want to overcomplicate this stuff, guys, because I've been through these cycles. This is now my third bull run. What we're seeing right now is just pretty textbook and classic along the lines of prior cycles, and that's why I continue to preach the message that, even at the worst, it's just going to be a better buy opportunity, considering if this is the institutional cycle with the ETF and BlackRock and all of this. How is this not the greatest buy opportunity in the history of the world? Why are you not so thankful for the opportunity to be able to buy a dip, considering we've only been uptrending this entire time? I'm excited to do that, so that's just my opinions. This is the altcoin total market cap. It's looking pretty bullish. Now, coming over here and looking at the crypto market cap of the others, this is just all of the other altcoins that aren't Ethereum and Bitcoin in the market. This one has already kind of broke down. It was showing the most weakness at this trend line. It made a lower high, whereas the other ones made a higher high. So this one's already been breaking down. This one probably showed the direction first. And as I'm looking at it, it does look like we're going to be coming all the way back down. Potentially, we could retest this prior high all the way back down at 400 billion. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's more reasonable that we find support somewhere in between this prior consolidation. This was the resistance that we had right below our August high. Then when we made our breakout and made our first higher high above that, right here, it was in between that consolidation that I think that we're going to find our liquidity for a bottom. Do something like this, before we end up reversing. Big picture, all we're doing is the same setup as Ethereum. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys understand and visualize, that no matter what in this sort of pullback, it's not going to be the end of the world. All this really is going to look like, as far as what this chart is appearing, as some type of short-term ABC correction before we make that next big leg up. And the next leg up's taking us to this prior high. As Bitcoin's already hit this lower high, the altcoins haven't. They're going to lag. They're going to be just barely breaking out of their range highs. But once Bitcoin, finds its bottom, even if it makes another little correction back down in here, since Bitcoin's already higher up in the market, the next move for Bitcoin coming is pretty much a run to those prior all-time highs. Even if we correct, we do something like this, Bitcoin itself, I believe, is going to be starting that ascension to those prior all-time highs. So when Bitcoin makes that move up, we're going to be looking at the total market cap of the altcoins making its move up to the tops of its lower high, right? Getting close to those prior highs, but not quite as much. When it comes to the altcoins, we have to wait for Bitcoin to get into those new all-time high territories. There are certain altcoins that are going to be outliers. We've already seen that inside of this cycle, but the majority of them are not going to do a ton until we get into that new all-time high territory. So even if we see this pullback down in here, guys, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I think it's just going to be an opportunity for a lot of people to get in at a good price, considering this will be the exact same setup that ETH did all the way back into that first cycle. Well, I should say the first bear market that it had right over in here. I made so much money. I made the majority of my money just loading up on Ethereum at $340. It was actually $350. But it was pretty much just the middle of this bottom range. Right when we were retesting this high, I knew that this was the breakout. I put tons of my money that I had in the bank into Ethereum at the time, and then it ended up doing pretty much this right after. So as I'm seeing all of the total market caps of the altcoins and just the total market cap in general looking like it's doing the same type of setup, the total market cap is a little different, but the altcoin total market cap looks just like ETH did in that last cycle to a large degree. Every cycle the consolidation might look a little bit more unique in its own way, but once we have all of these prior cycles to choose from and judge upon, all we're really at is this level right here. And so, big picture, I think we're still all prepared to make a lot more money. All we're going to be doing is, pretty much having that final sell-off, the disbelief phase. All this really is just that disbelief phase of the market cycle I always talk about. We just started the first breakout. We broke out of this range. We're going to consolidate and retest it. And then that's where we start this new cycle. Notice how the disbelief phase starts right here. And then that's what starts that whole new cycle. We're literally at the disbelief phase all over again. And I'm so excited to be able to trade this market with you guys. I really can't explain that enough. I think we're all so well positioned. Anybody that's in crypto right now with the ETF approval, even though the short term seeing sell side pressure from some of these different institutions, this is ultimately the reason why institutions are going to be able to accumulate Bitcoin on a massive scale. And I think that that's why this will be the institutional cycle. When we're looking at all of our indexes showing the same setups, when we're looking at the total Bitcoin dominance going into a new all-time low for the first time since 2017, everything is so well positioned and primed for the biggest type of cycle we've ever seen, and it's really just my pleasure to be able to trade it with you guys. I want to see you guys make a life-changing amount of money. I've been able to do so much for myself. I've been able to help my family out. I've been able to help my friends out. And the most important thing for me with making this channel has always been to be able to help you guys out. I genuinely want to see everybody that watches this channel make a lot of money. That was always my goal. It's the only reason I make these videos. And with everything that we're seeing in the charts, it's just repeating like clockwork, just like prior cycles. Nothing has really changed, and I just want you guys to be able to visualize the big picture, see how things are playing out in real time, in the hopes that maybe you guys have the patience and foresight to see and hold long term and realize some of this profit that we're going to be experiencing. Like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching this channel. I truly appreciate the support and love that each one of you shares with me every single day. So with that being said, guys, if you did find value in this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys do want to see how I'm positioning myself long term, going into these next bull runs, how I think that we're going to be making the most money, which chains, which cryptos, and all of that stuff. If you ever want to participate in pre-sales, which ones I think will take off, links are in the description to go ahead and check out my website. From my website, you're going to get access to my private group. My private group has everything that you're going to need as far as understanding what I'm investing in long term. So if you guys do want to see that, links are in the description. Thank you so much for the support. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.